and welcome back to the Growing Space podcast. On this week's episode, we are going to be talking about all things fall planting. So I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's the USDA Agricultural Zone 7B/8A. But we are smack dab in the middle of our fall growing season. And I wanted to take some time today to talk to you all about planting fall vegetables and what grows in the fall. Leafy greens, root vegetables, bulb vegetables, herbs, and fall is a great time to plant your fruit trees. So hang on. We got lots to cover in this week's episode, and I am so glad that you're here. And let's get started, shall we? Welcome to the Growing Space podcast. I'm your host, Farmer Erin, owner of The Patio Farmer, and I believe that no matter what size space you have, you can grow food at home. Tune in each week as I share my best tips, tricks, and encouragement for tending to homegrown edible plants. I am here to support you in your food growing journey. Let's dig in. If this is your first episode that you're listening to, congratulations. This is actually my second podcast episode ever. So if you are brand new, which, okay, most of you are, but if you didn't listen to my first episode, I introduced myself. I talked a little bit more about my food growing journey, my business, The Patio Farmer, and what you can expect week to week from this podcast. So I am super glad that you are here and that you've tuned in. Right now, when I'm recording this, it is the middle of September. It's actually like right before the equinox. So the first day of fall is just a few days away, and I'm so excited, y'all. I love fall. Fall is it's my favorite season. I am totally that person who is obsessed with all things pumpkin spice. I just love fall. I love the crispness in the air. I love the colors. I love getting my sweaters out. And I don't know. I just really love fall. Always have, probably always will. And fall is actually a great time, one of my favorite times, coincidentally, to grow vegetables at home. So in this episode, I'm going to tell you all the reasons why I love growing fall vegetables, and give you some tips and information on growing your own fall vegetables. I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why I love growing fall vegetables. First, it's a second chance. Fall is all about second chances. It's about starting fresh. It's about having something new and exciting to carry us through. My second favorite thing about growing in the fall is that all of these vegetables are cold tolerant. That means that they survive a frost. My third favorite thing about growing in the fall is there's less bugs. Okay? Coming off the summer season, I'm just fighting bugs. Bugs everywhere. All the bugs, which is great. Like, bugs are wonderful. I have, huge respect and admiration for bugs, but like, by the time fall comes around, I'm just waiting for that first frost or so. Those are the 3 reasons why I absolutely love growing fall vegetables. Whenever we think about growing food, we think about the things that grow in the summer first, I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. But in my experience, people who want to grow food, they want to grow their tomatoes. They want to grow basil. They want to grow cucumbers and squash and maybe some eggplant, maybe some hot peppers. Like, those are the things that people think of first when they think of growing food at home. But there are so many more things that we can grow at home that love the cool weather. Here in the Southeast, we are blessed to be able to grow food outside all year round. So from the middle of February, we're planting our spring veggies into March, and then it's time in April and May and June to plant all those summer veggies. And, July and August, you're kind of like just holding on, keeping up with the harvest, keeping up with pest management, disease management. And then September hits. Well, September is a time for transition, right? We're changing from summer to fall. and things are starting to slow down. You know, you're either at the point of wanting to rip out every single living thing in your growing space because, you're tired, you're maybe feeling a little burnt out, quite literally, from all the summer heat, all the summer tasks, all the summer energy. Or you could still be thoroughly enjoying all of your summer veg. I tell you, pulling out tomatoes is one of the hardest things I do every year. And so when we're faced with the opportunity to plant for fall, there's a little bit of a transition, right? I find it's very cathartic to pull out all of those summer veggies that have been growing for months now and start fresh, literally a clean slate. So fall is all about second chances. It's all about fresh starts. So before we get into specifics, let's just talk broadly about fall veggies, what they're going to need, and kind of lay the foundation for growing. So the first thing is sunlight. Now, as we move into fall, so we're going to get less and less sun the further we inch towards the end of the year, which kind of works out because our fall vegetables need less sunlight than our summer vegetables. So if you have a space that gets at least 6 hours of direct sun each day, you'll be good to go. As we move into fall, the sun shifts and it starts to angle down towards the south. The sun sits in the southern sky. That's why south-facing sun is our strongest sunlight. Don't worry, I think I'm going to do a whole episode on sunlight because I'm obsessed with scoping out sun, and I've got some great tips for you. But anyway, then you want to make sure that your soil that you're using is a really high quality soil, something that's going to lay a great foundation for all of your fall veggies. I like to think of soil as an investment in my space. I splurge on my soil, y'all. So don't skimp. Don't get the cheapest bag. You don't have to get the most expensive bag of soil either, but just choose something that's high quality, that's got a lot of great nutrients in it. I'm also probably going to do an episode on soil, or 2 or 3. I love soil, love talking about soil. I want to spend a little bit of time just introducing you to the fall veggies. First, we have our leafy greens. So this is going to include broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kale, collard greens, Swiss chard, spinach, lettuce, arugula, pak choi, any leafy green vegetable. We can also plant peas in the cooler seasons. So if you enjoy planting peas in the spring, maybe consider doing a fall pea planting. Root vegetables are also super great for cool season growing. So your carrots, radish, beets, turnips, rutabaga, parsnips, celery root. Your bulb vegetables are also great. Onions, garlic, green onion, shallots. And then your herbs. Most of our culinary herbs are perennials, which means they come back year after year, or they stay evergreen. So examples of perennial culinary herbs are going to be rosemary, sage, thyme, oregano, chives, mint, marjoram, lemon balm, lavender, verbena. 2 main herbs that are not perennials that could be grown in the fall are parsley. Parsley is actually a biennial, so it grows for 2 years before it flowers. And then cilantro. So cilantro, I think, is one of those that always kind of tricks people. But typically, if you were to grow cilantro at home, wouldn't you think of growing it with your tomatoes and your hot peppers maybe, so you could have a nice salsa? But guess what? Cilantro does not like the heat at all. It gets woody and bitter, and it flowers, which is cool because from the flower, you also get coriander seed. Try growing cilantro in the fall and the spring. So, herbs. Fall is also a great time for planting fruit because it gives your plants a head start, time to sink their little roots down into the soil and like store all this energy through the winter so that come spring, they can spring to life. Little pro tip for you. Garlic is only something that is grown in the fall. It's very unique. It's one of the last things that we plant in the fall. So usually that goes in the ground around the end of October. I always kind of joke that you plant garlic to help keep the vampires away. And then it grows all through the rest of fall, all through winter, all through spring, and into early summer. So keep that in mind. Just know that it's going to be there at least the end of May, sometimes into June. Those are the different things that you can grow in your space in the fall. Now, here in zone 7B, 8A, the best time for us to be planting our fall vegetables is like end of August through, at the very latest, with the exception of garlic, of course, the very latest, like mid-October. If you can plant in September, that is like the golden month of planting for fall. That will set you with the best foot forward. Now, if you don't live in zone 7B or 8A, if you're further north, you'll want to plant before September. And if you're further south, then you'll have more flexibility and you can plant after September. So it really just depends on where you're joining from. But for zone 7B and 8A, September is your month. And now I want to talk about how to plant and thinking about your spacing for your crops. I always kind of go back to how I was taught that trees grow in like elementary school or middle school. I always remember my teacher saying that a plant's root systems are as deep and as wide as its branches are tall and wide. And that always kind of stuck with me. And, the same kind of thought process goes for our edible plants. So the bigger the plant is above the soil that we see, the more space it's going to need from plant to plant, and also how much space it's going to need in the soil to grow and thrive. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about spacing your fall vegetables. Most of our fall vegetables are going to give you a one and done harvest. What does that mean? So a great example of this is your root vegetables, like your carrots and your beets. You sow a carrot, it grows, thriving, you harvest it, and you have harvested the whole plant. You cannot come back to that same plant for another harvest. So our root vegetables, they don't take up a whole lot of space. They're smaller, and we can plant them much closer together. When we start to plant and think about the space for our leafy greens, our broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts, I usually give them like 2 to 3 feet. They take up a lot of space. So just keep that in mind as you're planning. Kind of on the flip side, so plants that grow in the fall that you can come back to over and over and over again for harvest are going to be your kale, your collard greens, Swiss chard, spinach, leaf lettuce, any peas. You can come back to those plants all season long. It's beautiful. So if you have a small space, you're looking to maximize your fall growing space, I would choose these crops that you can harvest from over and over again. The Growing Space podcast is sponsored by Plant Club by the Patio Farmer. Plant Club by the Patio Farmer is a monthly subscription service I started in 2020. It's a membership-based opportunity to take your growing journey to the next level. With 4 different membership options, you get to decide the amount and kind of support that's right for you. All Plant Club members receive access to my online community through a platform called Circle. Having access to this platform allows members to share pictures, ask questions, celebrate harvests, and get to know each other. All Plant Club members also have access to free seeds each month, along with information on how to plant and tend to their crops, with seeding instructions and downloadable resources from the Patio Farmers Resource Library. Membership starts at just $14 a month, y'all. Join Plant Club today by visiting my website, patiofarmer.com/membership. Now, where were we? This is something that I get asked all the time. Well, how do you know whether you should start something from seed or if you should use a seedling? I prefer to direct seed. A lot of people, like some of my clients, have a lot of seeding apprehension, and I get it. Using a seedling, like there's a little bit more of an assurance, like, okay, this plant is already growing, I just have to keep it alive, versus like raising something up from the soil from a seed. But it is also just like so cool to pop a little seed. Well, also I'm obsessed with seeds, so that might be a given. But I am obsessed with seeds. And so having the opportunity to put a little seed in the ground and just like water it and love it and check on it every day and be like, are you ready to sprout? And then you see it sprout. It's just the best feeling. It's the best feeling. I love it. So I like to direct seed as much as possible. Or leaf lettuce, spinach, arugula, or carrots, beets, radish, onion, garlic, direct seed. You probably already know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. A seedling is a little baby plant that you would buy from a nursery or a greenhouse or a garden center or wherever you get your plants. When you use a seedling, you are buying yourself time. So I like to be selective about which crops I use seedlings for and which crops I direct seed. Direct seed just means that you're taking seed and you're planting it directly where it's going to grow and mature for you throughout the season. So as a general rule of thumb, the longer something takes to grow to maturity, the more inclined I will be to use a seedling. Any broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels, I absolutely use a seedling for. Now, you could seed those directly, but if you wanted to do that, you would need to direct seed those big leafy greens in like the end of July. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. If you sign up to receive my weekly newsletter, it's called Queen City Almanac. Charlotte is known as the Queen City. I send it out every Wednesday morning, and I have like a whole section on my newsletter called the forecast, and it lists all the things that you can be planting right now. You'll also just get written content from me on a weekly basis. If you subscribe to my newsletter, I am gifting a free seed versus seedling guide. My newsletter is always going to provide free content for all. But if you want to become a paid subscriber for just $5 a month, you get little gifts from me. Right now, paid subscribers actually get a super special gift from me. It's my 2023 planning calendar, the year of mastery. And it walks you through 6 different master skills with worksheets and planning information for an entire year. So it's a really great tool. I wrote it last winter and I'm really proud of it. It's a digital resource. It's printer friendly. You can print it out and make notes. Like I said, there's worksheets and all kinds of great information on there. So subscribe to my newsletter. And I hope that you all decide to plant some things this fall. Fall's the best. Super excited for the season ahead and this new season of like podcasting. I'm so appreciative that you've taken the time to listen to me and my little podcast. I would encourage you to listen to my first episode. I give you a background on who I am, what my business does, and the different resources that I have available. Next week, we are going to talk about fall tasks for the weary summer grower. So if you listen to this episode today and you were like, oh my gosh, this sounds so great. Like I really would like to grow some leafy greens and root veggies. But like real talk, I am just exhausted from summer and I need a break. I hear you. I feel you. We're going to talk through different tasks for the fall that are a little bit more nourishing, relaxing, not super stressful. I love this topic. So I'm very excited to share this with you. I wanted to remind you all, or just like introduce the idea of question asking. I absolutely love questions about growing edible things at home. I love having my listeners and my audience help direct and guide the content that I'm sharing. And so I'm asking you, if you have something that you want more information on, or, a topic that's really interesting to you, that you would like for me to feature on this podcast, or even if you just have like a quick question or two, check the show notes for a link to submit a question and I'll answer it and it'll be great. I'll give you a little shout out too. So yeah, thanks again for tuning in to the second episode ever of the Growing Space podcast. Feel free to give me a follow on social. I am at the Patio Farmer. You can also read more about the Patio Farmer and all of my services on my website. It's just patiofarmer.com. And I will see you again next week. So at the end of each podcast episode, I am going to share with you a plant pro tip or just like a little tiny morsel. This week, your little tiny morsel. Oh my gosh. Have y'all seen kohlrabi? She's so cute. But you should totally Google. It's KOHLRABI, kohlrabi. And she's the cutest little thing. She's wonderful. She's related to cabbage and she's super tasty.